Carol is in New Orleans right now for the Daily Beast Innovators Summit. It's called Reboot America. And one of the innovators she spoke to is billionaire green technology investor Vinod Khosla. She asked him why he thinks energy is not a hard problem to solve.
If you take the traditional model of energy, where you keep extrapolating from the past, we'll do more of what we've done before. It is a hard problem. If you take a nonlinear model, innovative view, we'll have revolutions and breakthroughs that change the assumptions that go into these big econometric forecasting models. I think it's an easy problem to solve. We've got to let our technologists and innovators and entrepreneurs at the problem, not have big companies like Exxon try and solve the problem, because they'll do the linear thing.
But aren't they in the pockets of a lot of politicians, and it's tough to kind of get, is that part of the problem?
You know, it's hard to hold a good idea down.
Okay.
And those entrepreneurs have come into focus. My job has been the last 5 or 6 years to really empower them, to give them a voice and let them try the things they want to try. And frankly, the big companies aren't worried about them. They don't believe in this model. They don't think you can replace fossil oil with, say, a renewable crude oil.
So they're not really a problem.
Yeah, and they look at ethanol as the linear solution. And so I don't think they'll pay enough attention to even squash it. And frankly, they'd love to see, they see a resource problem. And I think most of the big oil companies would like to see alternative sources. They just don't think there are enough, so they're not working on it.
Is part of the problem, because there's a lot of critique out there, Vinod, about returns on venture capital investments in the clean energy sector, that they have paled in comparison to those that we saw during the dot-com era. I mean, is that kind of part of the problem, and it's not as scalable, or what?
You know, that's again analysts and pundits. I think there's a fundamental...
It's BS then?
Yeah, it is BS. There's fundamentally a battle, in my view, of people who want to extrapolate the past and all the pundits and punditry versus innovation. And that's the fundamental battle in this economy. And I think innovation will win, and all the pundits will be wrong, and the extrapolation and econometric models will be wrong. They've been proven to be wrong again and again and again.
But you don't think venture capitalists maybe need to reevaluate kind of their strategy in this area because it's not quite taking off yet?
You know, venture capital hasn't been working on energy for very long. 2 or 3 years, really.
So we're impatient.
So let's not get impatient. It takes 5 or 7 years to build a reasonable technology, especially when real science is involved. I personally think there's plenty of opportunities. And frankly, look, you don't need 95% of the venture capitalists to do the right thing. You need, they'll do the usual safe stuff. Worry about safe investments. I'm much more interested in the unsafe investments, the non-fiduciary, the long shots, home run swings, and it doesn't matter how often you strike out.
Do you think ethanol is ultimately going to be a home run swing?
You know, it's hard to predict the course of any of these. I think cellulosic non-food crop ethanol will get here and will be cheaper than corn-based ethanol. It'll blow corn-based ethanol out of the water. That'll happen in the next 3-4 years. I think alternatives to ethanol will also pop up in the next 2-3 years. And that whole thing will feed into this $1 trillion market for oil. And even if you took 100 billion of it, you build some pretty interesting Google-like companies. In fact, I've sort of forecasted there'll be 10 Googles in the next 10 years in energy.
No doubt about it.
No question in my mind.
And it'll include ethanol in your view?
It'll include biofuels.